What are you up to these days?
So I'm going to be incorporating time-lapse videos along with people who book commission drawings. So it's going to be an extra sort of gift, really. I thought about it, I think it was a few weeks ago. And I thought I'd do these time-lapse videos just for me and for, people who look at my work. And people are quite fascinated with the process. And then I thought, well, you're getting a lot of people asking, can you draw my mum who passed away? Can you draw my granddaughter? Can you draw my favorite pet, my dog? And I thought another beautiful gift would be to give them a time lapse so they can actually see the whole process. So I'm actually in the process now. I'm looking over there because that's where my easel is with my artwork. I'm drawing a dog at the minute and I'm doing a time lapse for that dog. I've got another 3 more dogs to do. Obviously, people love the dogs. I'm quite happy they do love the dogs because it keeps me in business when it comes to commission drawings. I've got 2 humans to draw, which is nice because it breaks it up. Even though I love drawing animals, it can be really tedious drawing all those tiny little hairs all the time. And with a face, it's really smooth. It's nice, unless I'm drawing like someone like Sir David Attenborough or above, people with a lot of like wrinkles and crevices. But yeah, drawing the way I'm drawing is nice. So I've got quite a lot of commissions, which is fantastic. I am in the process of building up a 24-piece collection of endangered wildlife animals. And then I'm also in between that doing a lot of artwork that sort of evokes emotion. Artwork, I believe, sort of speaks when there's no more words left to say. And I really want to draw some artwork that is going to bring light and awareness to some of the issues that we have around the planet today. So I know I did one it was sort of like it was called My Childhood. And you may have seen it. And it's a picture of a little girl around about 5, 6, and she's clutching hold of a teddy bear in the corner. And there's a gentleman, you can see a little bit of a gentleman at the side of the image holding a wine bottle with his belt buckle open. So that got I got so many messages. People were shocked, but also amazed as well with the skill and also the message I was portraying in that artwork, saying, thank you so much. We need more people to speak out about this. So many people messaged me saying, it happened to me. Thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for your courage and your strength. And all the messages were positive. I never got one bad message from it. So I was like, oh, wow, this is, really, really important. So I want to start doing a few more pieces that are like that, I think, going forward. And as well, I want to draw quite a lot of inspirational sort of celebrity figures as well. So I've got a lot of work to last me my whole lifetime, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you'll never run out of things to draw. What's your most common request? Because I didn't really know that people request from you. I thought that you were just doing these artworks and then selling them to anyone who was interested. But now I realize, people are actually messaging you. Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? What's your number one request?
Dogs.
Right.
Dogs, pets.
Wow.
That is probably more so than anything else. Like I get people, say, can you do my, like I said, grandchild or mum or dad or wedding photos, or special anniversary or birthday presents. But on most of the requests are to do with drawing people's dogs. People love their dogs. I've got 4 dog commissions that I'm drawing this month. And that'll probably take up to maybe about 15, about 15 dogs that I've drawn over the past 3 years. So yeah, it's a lot of dogs.
That is a lot of dogs.
But I love dogs. Yeah. Well, I'm hoping I want to have a balance between drawing people's pets and also drawing people, because I would say I specialize in both portraits, animal and people portraits. I can confidently say that I can draw pretty much anything in the world as long as I can observe it. And when I draw the image, it's not just a replication. I intensify it. I go into that artwork, bring something out of it that wasn't there before. So I see things that the normal person wouldn't necessarily see. And that's why my drawings are so so clear and so intensely detailed. And I had a question the other day I had an interview on Instagram Live, and she asked me when you're drawing, like what is the process behind when you're drawing? Do you do research and stuff like that? And I always do my research. With lockdown, I can't see people, but what I love to do is if I'm drawing someone's dog, I'd love to I go to their house, I see their dog, I feel their dog, I play with the dog. And as an artist, as a creative mind, that's how I get that. I don't just draw anything because it's just fun to draw. I draw things that I resonate with or connect with, or I have connected with. So when I'm drawing these inspirational people like Oprah Winfrey, Maya Angelou, Princess Diana, Sir David Attenborough, I listen for literally a few days before I draw them. And whilst I'm drawing them, I listen to their interviews. I listen to any documentaries they've done. Yeah, and it really gives me the feeling of the person that I'm drawing. So I remember drawing Princess Diana and listening on YouTube to her interviews and what she was talking about. And I was like, wow, some of the stuff I did not know. And I remember drawing an eye. I was drawing her eyes, and she said something on the interview about just coming from a really heart-centered place and, treating people with kindness and dignity. And I started to cry because it was like, she's so amazing. So that's the process about my drawing. I love to feel the person, to feel the soul, and that helps me to draw then. So yeah, that's pretty much the process.
It's so real that you could probably not tell if you put it at a distance and you said, here's a photo of like Will Smith or something, right? I mean, I like the fact that you do these celebrities because everyone knows their face so well. So when you draw them and you pull it off so accurately, have you ever had any, people who are in the limelight kind of like say, oh, wow, look at this drawing, or, kind of respond to you?
That's what I'm in the process of doing now. So this year, coming out my comfort zone. I've been stuck in a little box pretty much all my life. And a lot of that's been to do with like self-worth and mentality and I've just completely doing lots of inner work and a lot of meditation. And it's just with the Clubhouse app as well. It's helped me to begin to connect with these people or connect with people who know the people that I want to connect with. So I'm in the process of somebody's is good friends with Kevin Hart. So all being well, I can get that work to him. I've had the only person that I've had big pages share my artwork sort of on Instagram and things like that. But in terms of celebrities or renowned people, if anyone actually seen my work, the only person that comes to mind because it's quite recent is Lewis Howes. You probably know Lewis Howes. Yeah, I did a drawing of him a couple of years ago, and we actually talk now, and he's a really nice guy. And he shared my artwork, and now we're actually in the process of doing a picture of him and his beautiful partner. So that's really exciting. And I think this year is definitely, I feel like I'm really going to catapult where I have been to where I want to go. I think there's going to be quite a lot of quantum leaps happening because I am actively, changing my mindset. I'm actively sort of reprogramming my subconscious mind. And I found that a lot of the reason why I wasn't getting results was because of what was going on inside, and I needed to change how I saw myself. And now I'm reaching out to these people and things are moving in the right direction. Like I'm in contact with somebody who's hopefully after lockdown going to be able to get me in front of Sir David Attenborough so I can gift him the drawing of him. And that's what I want to do, and start doing that and build that up. Because these people are incredible. And I'm starting to realize, instead of in the past, I'd always put those people up there and me down here. There was always a massive gap. And now I'm realizing we're actually here. All the differences is all the differences really is how you see yourself to them. They're only where they are because they've taken consistent, positive, daily action towards the goals and they've achieved them. They're only the people who we look at up there. It's almost like they're incredible goal achievers. They're just incredible goal achievers. And they don't quit at a hurdle or at a difficult time in their life. They may pause, but they keep going. And that's the difference between people that we, perceive as up there and people that we perceive as down there is these people just don't quit. So now with all these connections, everything's going into the right direction. So yeah, I'm hoping more people like that, more celebrities, more renowned figures can see my work. You know, they want to commission me or they want to share my work with their audience. So yeah, fingers crossed, things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a great strategy. And it's one that's definitely going to work, because the more you do it, the more people are going to notice, and then the more exposure you're going to get. I think it's a really great way to get your name out there. So if you're going to draw any person, you know, it would probably be a strategic choice, right? Oh, hey, I'll do this person because I know that maybe they'll tweet me or they'll, you know, repost my Instagram, and I'll get that exposure. Yeah. And you're worth it. It's really worth it. So good luck with that. But you know, you're right. I used to also have a mindset like that, where I just felt like I wasn't as worthy to be able to even think about reaching out to people who were popular, successful. I don't really know. You know, I think that happens because maybe you get painted a picture when you're younger about your self-worth. Maybe it's language. I think it's mostly language, isn't it? That you get, you hear someone that you respect, like your parents, telling you that you're not good enough, that you'll never be good enough. And then you kind of let that snowball into your identity. And you are a shy person, and you don't speak out of line, and you're very agreeable. And then one day, you know, if you're lucky, you look at your life and the decisions you've been making in a situation you're in, and you realize you're not where you should be. You actually should be somewhere else. And it's probably because someone else has come along that you respect, and they've said, why are you so shy? Why are you like this? You know, what happened? You know, you should be, you know, doing this, and you should be super popular. And I'm sure that might have happened to you. It happened to me, and it kind of throws your, you know, whole paradigm in another direction. And it's up to you whether or not you want to do anything with that, because you don't have to. But if you're looking for fulfillment, and if you're looking for discovery of yourself and the universe and whatnot, it's up to you to take that step forward into the new territory, like out of your comfort zone. Yeah. What was that like for you? Because you say that you've kind of gone through this transformative process. How did you feel about yourself? What was your view of the world? What was your life like before this, I'd say, new chapter of yours?
Yeah, definitely. And definitely agree as well to what you were saying about, you know, we can change. So it doesn't always have to be verbally someone telling us that we respect when we're young. It doesn't have to necessarily be verbally. We can internalize their actions as, you know, we're not good enough, or we're not worthy, or we're not deserving. So certainly for me, so when I was obviously from birth up until about 5, you know, I was like a battlefield, basically. I was just born into a battlefield. Parents were, you know, drug addicts, you know, alcoholics. I was the youngest of 8. They were all taken off my parents. You know, I didn't have any siblings to play with or anything growing up. And yeah, it was just really dark and like an abusive and just, yeah, it's like a horror movie basically. And so what I got from that, and I understand, I've spent over nearly a decade doing so much personal development, knowing how the brain works, how to reprogram your mind, what trauma does to the brain in adult life. I had to learn all of this just because I was like, I can't be destined for this. I've just felt like my past was controlling every aspect of my future. And it got to a point where I was like, no, I can't do this anymore, you know, because I'll end up just doing something stupid and, you know, not wanting to be here, or not being here, literally. So the transformation from having what had happened to me, you know, my mum, my dad, even my brother, you know, all that abuse, and then being adopted with these incredible adoptive parents, Alice and Vinnie Clark. And they, even though it was very tough love, which I'm very grateful for that, it's very tough love, she believed in me. and I do believe environment plays a huge role in the way we see the world and the way the person that we become. So she, as she adopted me, she could see that I was really creative. So she encouraged that creativity, which was fantastic. And I think sometimes, especially with artists, you say to your kid, what do you want to be? And they say, I want to be an artist. And basically, unfortunately, the mindset of some of those parents can be, that's not going to happen. Get yourself a real job, get yourself something that's going to pay the bills.
Exactly.
Whereas, you want it, you dream. Yeah.
I just a riff on that point that you made. And I don't hold this against my parents or my dad. It was my dad. But it was never a very supportive experience when I grew up. I was very much into art. I was very much into drama. I went to the Royal Shakespeare Theatre Company. My final A-level piece was stolen because someone wanted it, I guess. So I couldn't, I was really excited about what I was going to do in the realm of the arts. But what happened was I kind of got convinced out of it for whatever reason. I think it was just not something my father thought was valuable, and I wanted his validation. And he was more interested in money, obviously, as I would say, obviously, because he's Asian, right? So Asian fathers are very strict and very much oriented towards the traditional money-making jobs like lawyer or doctor or,
Yeah.
And I let it get to me, and I didn't trust my truth. So yeah, you are correct. It is really quite a difficult thing to get involved with as a career, because it's just there's just so many questions about, well, how are you going to make it work? Are you going to make it work? There's a lot of competition out there. Yeah. But if it's your truth, then I think you should give it a shot.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think that's something that me and my partner said, this is how we're going to raise our children. What we know now, I said we both say, imagine if we knew this, or if our parents taught us this when we were like kids, we'd be like, it just completely changed everything. And it's, it's encouraging that creativity in children. It's like everything that I'm looking at in my room was once an idea in somebody's mind. And they went with it and they didn't let anything stop them. So yeah, Alice was very, very encouraging. She was always like, and she always used to, I'd come home and I'd want to do good. I'd have my good grades. I wouldn't really socialize that well. I think a lot of that was due in my past because of the trust issues. And so I'd just always work. I'd be in my work. And she was like, you can go far. You can be whatever you want to be. And that was lovely. Mm-hmm. And then I was in school and the teacher said, she came over, and what really got me into art was when you study those, your general art class that you have to have when you're a kid. And it was all about pop art. And my artwork's completely on the flip. My artwork's hyperrealism, which gives the illusion of a photograph. Pop art's completely different, but I loved Aborigine art with the dots. I loved like Roy Lichtenstein, Andy Warhol, surrealism, like all these. I loved all that type of art. And I remember recreating a Roy Lichtenstein. I think that was the artist. He was like a man with it's a very iconic image, a man with a suit, a top hat with an apple in the front of his face. And I recreated that, and the teacher was really impressed. And obviously I could see I was drawing it, and everyone was looking around and looking at my artwork. And, I was like, ooh, I got really excited. And she said, wow, Samantha, that's amazing. What is it you want to be when you're older? And I said to her, I want to be an artist. It's the first thing that came out. I want to be an artist. And basically she went on, and I don't know the word for word, but she went on to say that it's not really feasible. It's not really, a great idea. Basically, do something that's going to get you money. Basically, I remember walking out that classroom just feeling really deflated and really like just my dreams had been suppressed. And this is an art teacher. And later on, obviously now I can look back, and now I can look back, and I always think to myself now, when anyone doesn't believe in my dreams, I internalize it. And I always say to myself, right, stop looking outside for validation and acceptance from others, because if they can't believe in their own dreams, how can you expect them to believe in yours? So I was like, oh yeah, she's an art teacher. if she couldn't believe that she would be a successful artist, how can you expect her to then, encourage you to be what she wanted to be?
Getting this picture of your art teacher just sitting there with like a pack of 20 over, just smoking with like a bottle of wine, don't do it. Look at me.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so through that, then I decided to channel my creativity into something I thought would make me money, which was fashion, clothes, making clothes, learning how to make clothes, which I actually know how to make with sewing machines. And it's a fantastic thing to be able to do. So from school, I went on to college to study fashion design and clothing. Then from college, I went into university again to study fashion. And I was really good. I was one of the reasons I didn't get a first in my degree. It was because of my attendance. I was very much, I didn't want to be around people. I wanted to do, so I bring my work, I have heaps of work. And they'd be like, wow, amazing. But, try and come to class and do that in class. I was like, I don't like class. So, and then I went on to being awarded showing my collection at London Graduate Fashion Week, and did a placement with Alexander McQueen. So whatever I wanted to do, I always wanted to be the high achiever in it. And I remember doing all that. And I always thought I wanted to be a really successful fashion designer. Worked with Alexander McQueen, which was like the top of the top,
wow.
Lived in London for 5 months. Met Naomi Campbell. We were in a lift together. You probably remember this, but we were in a lift together, and you have to act because you're in that environment. You can't be like fan jumping on them. You have to be really responsive. And she walked in front of me in the reception. She had a cap on, really tall, long, sort of dark extensions like here. And she went, oh, Naomi Campbell, just want to take a seat. And I just went, as I went to the desk to sign in, I just looked, and I was like, and she just sat there. She smiled at me. And I was like, and then I looked at the woman at the desk, and she was like, yeah, Samantha, go inside. And I was like, oh my God. And but yeah, it was really exciting. But it made me realize how stressful and how stressful that environment was, and how
why was it stressful?
What word can you use? Stressful because I was doing placement, and doing a placement, you don't get any paid. I was expected to work over 12 hours a day, helping to build up collections that would be shown, all over the world. And I didn't realize that, these beautiful collections that you see on the catwalk are made not by the designer or a small team. They're made by so many people and a lot of interns and they didn't get any recognition. So I was there with loads of other people. There was a lot of Italians, a lot of Chinese people as well. I've got a lot of friends with them because obviously from someone traveled from Italy and China because they want to be, it's the best place to be. Parents will pay a lot of money for them to be there. And it was just, I felt a lot of the people there were lovely. I love, Alexander. This was a year after he, sadly passed. And I was expected to work very long hours to the point where I remember my feet were swelling up. And there was very much a sort of bitchy environment. And I'm naturally like an empath. I don't like that. And with the art, some of the fashion world, it can be very dog eat dog, and, people are looking at you. Then everyone's having salads because everyone wants to be skinny and starve themselves. And it wasn't healthy. It just was not healthy.
Wasn't it? It was the salad more than anything else. That
it was the salad. It was the bloody salad. I was like, no. But, I made some incredible friends from it. And anyway, I graduated. I was the only one in the whole of the university who managed to get a placement with someone of such, high sort of, being so high up in the fashion world. And I remember graduating, and I'll always remember this. I always remember being in our little flat in Preston in the apartment. And I said to myself, I don't know whether I said it out loud in my head, but I remember saying to myself, what is it you've always wanted to be or do? And I said, I've always wanted to be an artist. I've always wanted to be an artist. And I was like, right, let's do it. And I said, yeah, but I've just done 4 years or basically 6 years of fashion. And I was like, no, it's creative. It's still artistic. So then I began to draw, and I started drawing some pretty good sketches. I did one of my partner's brother and his wife. It was like a wedding photo. It was a really good sketch. You look like them. Wasn't nowhere near as what I do now. And I started to draw, and then started to follow art pages on social media, and I followed one on DeviantArt, and people were drawing these, looked like photographs. And I was like, no way can these be drawings. So then I typed in, and it's funny because people say to me, how did you learn how to do this? And I say, sometimes it is innate, it is a talent as well. It can be taught, yes, if you're willing to put the hours in. But for me, it's quite easy. It's quite easy. Some people may take decades to get to the level that I'm at. So I'm very blessed that I can do it. But I actually said, I went onto Google and I typed in how to draw more realistically. Like literally typed in how to draw more realistically. It came up a few links, and there was this artist called Linda Huber. And I clicked on her website, and her work was awesome. And she had a little tips page, just written like 1 to 20 points. And the first one was study your reference photo. The second one was grid out your reference photo. The third one was grid out your paper, go in detail by detail. And my first ever drawing was of an eye, which on my Instagram account, you may have to scroll all the way to the bottom. And there's a little eye. And that was my first ever attempt at drawing realistically. Then the next attempt was a hand with water. And then the third attempt was my Albert Einstein drawing. That was my first ever super realistic drawing. That was the first ever drawing that I attempted realistically, and it worked. And I looked at it, and me and my partner said, okay, you've got something here. And I was like, yeah, okay, so carry on. But even though I've been doing this now realistically, when did I do that drawing? 2013. So even though I've been doing drawing on and off, with the doubt, with the self-worth, because of what happened to me, made me think I'm not good enough. My dream, or getting to my dream, is literally being up, down, up, down, up,
so
down.
What would happen then? For example, if you were on a roll, and then would something trigger you and you'd go back to maybe not believing in yourself again? How does that work? What happened?
Yeah. So brilliant. So basically what happened was I had done a few drawings. I've seen photographs. I'd done a few drawings, and there was a friend on Facebook who saw my work and said, I know someone who's got a gallery. He'd love your work. So I was like, okay, yeah, awesome. So I took my work down. He was like, oh my God, your work's amazing. I was like, yeah. He said, how much do you want to sell them for? Well, man, no, a few £100. He was like, right, we'll start at 4 figures. So we'll start 1,000. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. He said, one of the reasons why we can charge that much is because what you can do now in your early 20s, people would take decades to do. And then by building up, that's when they can increase the prices. But we can already start at, 4 figures. So I was like, awesome. So anyway, I'm drawing. And with what I do, and many artists will say it, you have to go inwards. There's a very, I can't verbalize it. It's more of a feeling. But I have to go in, and, it comes from a place of, it's almost like a meditative state when I'm drawing, like I'm in flow. And anyway, one day I'm drawing, and all of a sudden this flash of this very traumatic, horrific scene comes on the screen of my mind, of a baby and men. And I'm just like, whoa, I've dropped my pencil. My eyes filled up. My heart was pounding. Everything was just sweaty. And I was in the studio at the time, and I was like, what's happening? So that shocked me. It got worse after that. I kept on getting flashes, loud noises. For one point, I couldn't even put the smoothie maker on without wanting to poo my pants, because it was the noise. It was like boom. I was like, oh my God. And this went on for years. I didn't really know. And I did get therapy, thank God. But one thing I didn't realize was I'd gone through some horrific trauma in my past, from my mum, my dad, my brother, those who were supposed to protect me, those who were supposed to look after me. And they betrayed me for pretty much 5 years of my life. Then I was adopted. I was saved. But then my adopted parents had to watch both of them die of cancer. So there was still a lot of grief. And my biological parents died as well. And I just felt lost. It's like, where do I belong? And anyway, I'd not really dealt with the trauma for most of my life. I'd just very much, I think there's a few different ways people deal with trauma. You have high achievers, so people who money, success. and then you don't deal with any of the shit.
Right.
And then you also have the people, and you also have the people who the trauma, it becomes all consuming, and then they go on drugs, and then they become homeless. So, and there's people in between. So I was very much on the path of block it all out, go towards your goals.
Are you saying that you actually forgot the things that happened to you, and then you blocked them out?
I blocked them out, and that's
Are you? So I don't want to pry, and feel free to say
no
whether you're okay to talk about things. But I just, for the sake of maybe anyone who's listening, I just want to ask you, well, how much can you share of what actually happened as you grew up?
Oh, pretty much everything. I'm at a place now where I've healed to such an extent that I can actually share without getting overly emotional.
Right.
Because I've done like over a decade of healing, pretty much. Just under a decade. When trauma's fresh, it's so easily triggered. So obviously losing my baby boy Owen in October, I'm not going to go into detail about that because that's still fresh. But all the stuff that my mum and my dad and my brother, and going through that, like, the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the abandonment, the starvation, that's what I had to deal with. But I didn't realize until, again, the power of personal development, which everyone on the whole entire planet, I encourage everyone to just delve into. The more you learn about yourself, the more, empowered you are. I didn't realize that at the time, when a child goes through horrific trauma or sees horrific trauma, they don't know how to process that. So a lot of the time, the brain, thank God, is an incredible organ in the body. It freezes that, like you put something in a freezer, it freezes it. And, sometimes it can block it out. It suppresses that memory to protect you. And it's not until you're old enough, when you have the understanding, the intellect, the awareness, and you're ready, that sometimes without your conscious awareness, that trauma begins to defrost, and it comes up to the surface as if it's happening literally there and then. And that's what happened to me. And that's what PTSD is. I didn't realize. So I didn't know all this. I sort of, I always knew my whole entire life that my mummy and my daddy were bad people. Mainly my daddy. I used to say my daddy's naughty, my daddy's naughty. So I knew that.
These are your biological parents?
Yeah, biological parents. Yeah.
Right. Can I ask you a couple? So where were you born?
So I was born in Liverpool. I was born in Liverpool, and because my parents were, my mum had 8 children, but they were all in the foster care system or the adoption system. So the social services at the time always kept sort of tabs on my mum. And I requested, when I was early 20s, I requested a case file. The social services keep everything on a case file, and it was like this thick. And it was literally like a documentation of my whole life. Everything they saw, everything I'd said, even gone to the police when I was 5. There was a video recording of me when I was 5, saying stuff that no child should know. So this was all documented, and it just reaffirmed to me that, oh my God, it really did happen. So that opened another can of worms.
You didn't actually remember a lot of what was in that document?
No. So what I remembered, it was in fragments. That's the brain remembers things in fragments. So a noise, a belt buckle opening, a feeling. I remember, because again, why I believe that my drawings are so detailed, which it does link in, is because of living in a state of fear pretty much my whole entire life. It makes me hyper vigilant and hyper aroused. So it's almost like my pupils are massively dilated. I'm taking in everything because I'm looking to see if like a lion or a tiger is going to jump out at me. So I was always really sort of living in a high stress, high fear response because of what happened to me. You get a child, you bring them into this world, and if they're born into this battle zone, there's drugs, there's fights, your dad's doing really inappropriate things, your mum's not there to support you. And, I remember at 5 hiding a pack of cans from my mum, pack of cans behind the sofa, because I knew that cans of alcohol, because I knew that these cans of alcohol I knew that it would turn my mummy not a nice person. So I remember this so clearly. I was 5 and I took them and hid them behind a single sofa, like just one person sofa, a big one in the corner. And I put them behind there. And I remember she was walking around she was screaming for them. And she was like, where are they? Where are they? Sam, do you know where they are? Where are they? And I remember at one point, her throwing like a white chair. So like a small little white plastic chair. And all I remember was this chair coming towards me. And then that was it. So I remember things in sort of fragments. And pretty much, like I said, up until when the flashes start to come, it was pretty much, I chose to ignore it. I chose to protect myself. Otherwise, I chose to be in denial, because it felt like if I felt what had happened, if I'd accepted that happened, it would have been too much for me at that time. So going when the flashes start, I thought, right, I need to go and get help. And I remember seeing a wonderful therapist who was more of a spiritual therapist as well. And she explained it to me. I said, I don't understand this emotion. Why am I so scared of everything? There's nothing to be scared of, but yet I am terrified of everything. I couldn't sleep in the dark pretty much for a long time. And she explained it to me. She said, when you go through trauma, very, extreme trauma like I'd been through, your brain protects you by freezing that trauma. And then it's only when your brain realizes, oh, she can handle this now, then it gives you things and flashes and things start to come to your mind. So these things were coming up to my mind, and a lot of them were actually memories. And I didn't know. I thought I must have been like some crazy, evil psycho person, because all these...
This must have been a lot later then, because that you say that you were to get your artwork appraised, and they were like, oh, it's going to be this much. And then you were like, so you started, you started drawing, and then you kind of got these. So that must have been around that time, right? When you started to seek help. That was a long time.
When I started to draw. Yeah. So that was probably 2014, 2015. So 2013, 2014, I'd say 2014, 2015. I could, if I looked at, because I keep diaries. I have loads and loads of diaries, so I keep everything. And looking back, so it wasn't until. So I knew I drank a lot as well. I drank a lot. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did drink.
When did you start drinking?
Open, I started drinking probably university mainly. At the odd bit when I was like maybe 17, 18, but my adoptive parents, again, very strict. They didn't drink, no alcohol, no drugs, nothing like that. So it was not until university. Everyone, drinking like 3-4 times a week. I still managed to get a really good degree.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you drink it just eases the pain. It just eases the pain, and it's temporary. But it makes life feel more bearable. It makes life feel more bearable, and and other people are doing it, so you feel more connected, and it's all fun and giggles, and then you realise that this is not good. But after graduating, me and my partner, we carried on drinking, and it was just like takeaways, and I put a bit of weight on, not too much, but a bit of weight, and we got to the point where we were like, we need to really sort our life out. So we went down a few fitness programs like Sean Teeth on Beachbody, and then went vegetarian, and then vegan, and then read, I think it was Wayne Dyer. We got into Wayne Dyer and The Secret.
Right.
And Bob Proctor. And we completely changed our life around, and people thought we were crazy. But we were like, no, we just found all this awareness and this knowledge.
Now.
Yeah, I've been with him for over 12 years. Yeah, I'm doing that because he's next door.
That's really amazing. No, that's actually significant, because if you both, I think that the chances of like rehabilitation, let's say, okay, it's not as serious. We're not talking about the trauma here. We're talking about the lifestyle, right? So I think the chances of rehabilitation from something like maybe smoking, drinking, having a bad diet, not doing any exercise, if you're both like that, it's a lot less chance you're going to actually be able to succeed than if you're just one of you's like that and the other one's already kind of moving in that direction. So the fact that you were able to do that and stay together for that long is great. And you look great, by the way, you really do. So you wouldn't think, right? This is like kind of like very surprising to people listening. And it's nice because it gives people a real life case study of where, when you decide something and you stick to it, you can actually make it work. And it's effortless now, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is your life.
Yeah,
this
it's
is who
never
you are.
too late. Yeah, it's never too late to change. It helps. Like, I don't think I could have done this on my own. You know, he's been my rock, and there's been times where I've just wanted to quit and leave this planet and just never come back. But he's grounded me, and I've had other things that have grounded me. But we have developed together. If one of us had stayed behind, then that would have been it. But we were both together doing it, and then we both watched The Secret. We both watched Bob Proctor. We both done these mindset training courses and programs that were pretty much all free on YouTube. And then we both watched documentaries about health, and we were like, wow. And we just started to expand our awareness and change. And I'm so grateful that, we are doing this together, and we've lived with each other for 12 years. We met at university in the same hall. We shared the same kitchen. So we've lived together, and that's a complete different, relationships are probably completely different, but I'd love to get onto that and another one. But people will be with someone for years, but they won't actually live with them. And I say, wait until you live with them. That's the true test of a relationship, being able to live with someone day in and day out. We read a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by John Gray. Anyone who's struggling in the relationship must read this book. I think anyone anyway, if you've got a relationship or not. It doesn't have to be a partner or a girlfriend or a husband. It can be relationships with your parents, the female, the male, to really understand how the people work, because we work so differently. So we read that book a few times a few years ago, and that completely transformed our relationship. Again, it took it up to the next level. So yeah, it's just been it's been awesome. It's been an awesome process to get from where I was to now, working through the trauma, and knowing that with my artwork, what my artwork allowed me to do was actually open the doorway for me to heal. It said, right, Sam, you're ready to heal.
When did you start drawing?
You're drawing like this, or just drawing in general?
You were doing it. Did you? Okay, let me try and go back just a little bit, because I think I just want to clarify. How did you? So you grew up in that environment. It was terrible. You were being abused by your family members, and then when did you go into foster care? When did that happen, and why?
Yeah, so I was 5. What it says on the case file. So I was about 5, just over 5, and it got to the point where so basically, just a little backstory. When I was 2, my mum came into the house. She reported all this to the police, told them the files. She went into the house. She saw my dad doing very inappropriate things to me at 2. She reported it to the police. Then later on, she actually retracted the allegations, which is crazy. But because now I understand that some people do in abusive relationships, they tend to do because they need that financial security or the partner's support. So anyway, it was on and off from then. And my mum, we'd have like doctors, like checkups and stuff. And the doctors would examine me and things went, and you know what I mean? And yeah, it wasn't until, but yeah, these social services, didn't take me away. And that was another kind of Wales to understand. Like, it made me even think people, literally the human race, don't give a beep, don't give a crap about me. If that was me walking into a room and there was drugs all on the table and there was this lovely girl lying on the sofa asleep with big brown eyes and curly hair, I would have scooped her up, took her in my arms and ran out of the house and saved her. But that didn't happen. I was there for another 3 years. So yeah, it wasn't until I think it got worse because my dad got prosecuted, and then my mum was really bad on the drink again, and they basically said, Samantha, we need to take her away. And it was interesting because when I was born, they had when I was very, very born in the case file, they actually had a what you call it, not a conference, like a court case, like a court hearing, to see if my mum Sandra, to see if she was capable of looking after her 8th child. And me and my partner are reading this thinking, okay, so she's had the 1st child, she's been an alcoholic, being taken off. She's had the 6th child, the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd. Well, so you think basically the 8th child's going to be okay. Yeah. So they left me there for 5 years. And when I was adopted, I went to about 2 other temporary foster homes for, I think, maybe a few weeks at a time before I was adopted by Alison Vinny. And I couldn't speak because of the trauma. I went through quite a few months of just not really talking. So I remember going into a room. There was a big round wooden table with pots of pencils and paper, and they wanted me to communicate somehow. So I began to draw, and I began to communicate through drawing. Which at the time, what I didn't know was actually art therapy. I just began to draw, and through doing sketches, and some of them may have been disturbing, which I think they were, and I began to find my voice, and I began to talk about it. We didn't really talk about, me and my adopted parents, we didn't really talk about the abuse or anything that happened. It's just that I knew I had a mum and a dad. I knew that my dad was a bad person, a naughty man. And I also, even though at the time with a child, so because I'd love to adopt as well in the future, I'd love to save someone's life as well. As a child, as an adult, you're taking that child away from their mum, their only source of like just connection. And yeah, a mother's love for a child, there's a strong bond there. And even though at the time that she's absolutely off her head on drugs and alcohol, she can nowhere near look after herself, and let alone this little girl. So the right thing, what a human would do, is take the child off to protect the child. I understand that. But the psychology of the child, all that child thinks, I don't care if my mum's an alcoholic or a drug addict, she's my mum. You're taking me off her, which is, again, super traumatic for that child. It's super traumatic because that's my mum. You're taking me away from her. I don't care if she's ill or whatnot. That's my mum. So that was really hard to go through. When I went into this house with 2 people I never even knew. They adopted and fostered a lot of other children. I remember going into the house, going into the living room, and there were all these children sitting on the floor watching the TV in the corner. And I'd never been around children, really. I think I may have gone to the park, or, I was in and out of nursery, but it was really overwhelming.
So you weren't actually going to school when you were with your biological parents?
So I was, but yeah, I was, but it wasn't always. I wasn't always going. You know what I mean? So I was in, I think it's nursery, but yeah, from my knowledge, the first time I really interacted with people, and maybe it's because I've blocked quite a lot out from the past as well, was when I was adopted. There was all these children, and I began to talk to them and communicate with them, and and it was really fun. And then I had to obviously, see my mum in between court cases and all this other stuff. I was seeing my mum like every so many weeks, but she was always drunk. Really? She always smelt of booze. Yeah. And I remember she'd give me, like, it was my birthday on some occasion, she'd give me like, I don't know, like a £5 note or £10 note. And I knew as a child that she needed that more than me. So I'd give it back to her. And on most occasions, she'd take it back. And I was just like, obviously now with the awareness, you're just like, it's like, wow. So yeah, it feels like for my artwork, so when I first started drawing was when I was 5, a way of healing. And I've been creative all my life. I've always done drawing. I've always made cards or things like that. And it wasn't until graduating after university, I said, what is it I want to do? And I said, I want to be an artist. I want to be a successful, renowned artist. And so I began to draw, found hyperrealism, which is just a fancy term for artwork that looks like photographs. That's what it is. It gives the illusion of a photograph. And it's a very new genre. I think it was found in, 1970s in New York. It's a very new genre. So I loved it. And then it's been now just over 8 years that I've been teaching myself how to draw super realistically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wow, you've been through a lot. I mean, really, probably the most traumatic childhood that I've ever heard. And I've spoken to a lot of women. I mean, I, as you know, do a series of interviews where I get the stories of women from around the world. And there are some traumatic childhoods. And I've had a pretty traumatic childhood in some ways. but nothing compared to what you've been through. So it's something that I'm really fascinated by, because you are a functioning adult and you're doing something you love, and you're happy. You seem happy. You seem bubbly. You seem full of energy. And it's like
how?
You want to understand, like, well, how did you get there? I mean, you know, I think really the platform that we have here and the opportunity that we have is to help, like you said, help people. And it's really nice and touching that you would want to also adopt people, because you know how powerful it can be. And you're making me think of adopting as well now. Like, really, you are. I mean, what's the problem? If you want to have kids, you can
if like you said, if you're a functional, adult, and you've developed your mental faculties to such an extent that you can overcome great adversities and you can live a happy and successful life, and you have the means and the finances to take care of somebody else, then why not? And, even if I said to Martin, I'd love to have, if we go on to having our own children, biological children, fantastic, but I also want to adopt minimum 2 children. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of kids that need help, and there's people out there that can help them. And I understand that yearning and that need for a woman to become a mother. But there's, also there's children out there that need mums, and you could be that perfect mum or that perfect dad for that child. So yeah, definitely want to do something like that. And it's so true what you said. People are quite amazed when they hear my story. Even friends and some friends and family, they're like, Sam, how are you so positive? How are you, doing what you're doing? You're always smiling. You're always bubbly. You're always wanting to help other people. One of the reasons is I know what it feels like to be down there. I know what it feels like to be in the depths and the darkness and the despair and the guilt and the shame and the fear and wanting to just end it all. I know what it feels like, and I don't want people to feel like that. And even if they do feel like that, I want them to look at my story and to look at where I am and where I've gone through. And I want them to realize if she can go through all of that and be who she is now, then it gives me hope and courage that I can do the same. And a lot of it has been, you've got to make that decision and that choice that you want a better life, that you can be destined for whatever you want to be. And it all starts in your mind. It's your mind is so powerful. So my first response would be, okay, if you're having PTSD, if you're having panic attacks, deep anxiety, suicidal thoughts, self-harm, all of these things that I've been through, even to the point where, I nearly tried to kill myself at one point with too many tablets. One, you need to look at it and think, okay, I need professional help first. Go get professional help. If you need to go on medication to help balance out the chemicals in your brain because you've lived in such a fear state for so long that your chemicals are all out of whack, go and get some antidepressants.
It is such a mindset thing. I also had to learn that too. And I know I have friends, I have people that I care about. I have people that I love in my life that haven't figured it out yet, and it's not, they're no less of a person because of it, but it's like, you want the best for everybody, that, you want the best for them. And so you try to help where you can. I think content like this is very helpful. I think it's better when you help someone indirectly sometimes, because they may feel attacked. They may feel like they're not good enough when you're directing it to them. But if you create something that is like, a little less direct, maybe something speaking to a broader audience, I think it gives them permission to somehow listen with less partialness and just kind of like attachment to it.
Yeah, they don't want to feel pressured. I think you can only help somebody that wants to be helped. There's so many people that just don't want to be helped, or they're not ready for this information. They're not ready. They've not taken that leap to change. And I heard this like a quote, and something like, you can lead a thirsty horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. They've got to drink it themselves. And you can only provide this information. It's what people do with it that matters. It's how that shapes people's life. It's what they do with it. It's like I flood my mind every day with information that's going to benefit me. I don't watch TV, really. We haven't even got a TV. We got rid of a TV years ago when we went through this whole change. I've got a laptop, watch a bit of Netflix, but I read books and I learn, and I see how am I going to, I know Mahatma Gandhi, another great person that I want to draw, said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And it's like, it all starts with me first. If we want our outside results to change, we've got to change our inside. And it's taken me a long time. It's taken me all my life, and then it's also taking responsibility for your results. People are so easy and so quick to blame other people. It's like, I could have blamed my mum and dad, like, I'm this person because of what you did, or my life sucks because of what you did, or I'm never going to amount to anything because of what you said, or because of what you did. Yeah. And all you're doing is giving them, that's an excuse. That happened. I cannot do anything about it. Yeah, it messed me up, a big part of my life. But now I'm back on track. And don't feel too hard or, beat yourself up for it. It's just what it is. It's what it is. So, yeah, I'm really happy, so far in my life. Obviously, I know it's been up and down, and I know I've still got a lot of grieving to do. I know that. I know I've still got a lot of grieving to do. And I'll do that when I feel like doing it. So, yeah, it's all fun. It's all fun and games.
Yeah, it is what you make of it. So I'm glad that you chose that path. Where can people find you online, and how can they see your work and get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Awesome. So you can either go via Instagram, because I'm pretty much on every social platform there is nearly, but I'm more active on Instagram. So that's Samantha _Messias _art. And, DM me, you can see all my work there. Or also, send me an email, which you can find again on my Instagram or through my website, which is www.samanthamessiasart.com. And again, you can see more information about, if people want a commission booking or, a commission drawing, how to book, if you want to see like more of my work or read a little bit about me, my bio, my awards and achievements. So yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me.
Nice. It's been really amazing talking to you.